wrong in order to be mansplained the secret reality.
Khyber was aware that she was the sort of woman who appealed to men who think two things at the same time. One, that they're attracted to smart women. Two, that they're smarter than the women they're attracted to, which is a very dangerous combination. Khyber changed her persona to suit the people that she was talking to. So when she was trying to get documents from professors, oh, I myself got a PhD at the University of Chicago. When she talked to people who were sympathetic with the Germans, she seems to have represented herself as being sympathetic with the Germans. She reflected what they wanted.
You also found that a lot of other women who worked for the OSS were left out of these histories, and that was about 35% of the OSS. A lot of the work that these spies did revolved around changing the narrative. One very effective tactic involved, quote, whispering.
So whispering was a subspecialty of propaganda. Now, you might think that spreading rumors means talking as loudly and widely as possible, but that's not true. The coordination of loose lips had to be as tight as the coordination of special forces. I'll tell you how it worked. The Allies put together rumors at something called the Rumor Factory. The head of this section had the enviable title Master Whisperer, and the whispers would go out through strategic networks. In a given region, a chief whisperer would organize the whispers, give them to agents, they would give them to sub-agents. Most sub-agents were ordinary civilians. You could be a reliable sub-agent in a propaganda network and not even know it. So the Rumor Factory classified whispers in two categories. One, smoke-screen rumors that were designed to deceive the enemy about the Allied war position or the Allies' intentions, and two, rumors that were designed to attack the morale of the enemy.
Trolls who were aware and trolls who were unaware.
One in Germany, a woman in black committed suicide with a revolver on the steps of the Reich Chancellery, which is Hitler's headquarters in Berlin. She held in her hand a newspaper announcing the death of her husband and son. This is to make people think about the despair of the German people.
Of course, one of the most famous coups pulled off by this corps of irregulars was Operation Mincemeat. British intelligence dressed up a corpse as a Royal Marine to deceive the Germans about an upcoming invasion.
Operation Mincemeat convinced the Germans to believe in a coincidence that was on its face ridiculous simply because it was a compelling story, that this British Marine fell in the ocean carrying a suitcase of plans that showed the Allies planned to invade Greece instead of Sicily. The British worked up a whole background for this guy. You know, he had pocket litter. He had a photograph of his fiancée, Pam, an overdraft slip from the bank showing he had spent too much on the engagement ring for Pam.
And they dropped the corpse so that it would wash up in Spain,
whom the Germans trusted. They successfully laundered the operation into a trustworthy source, which was also done with whispers. You could get a whisper printed in a small newspaper, then a big respectable newspaper would print that the small newspaper was saying it, and suddenly it was respectable. This is something that tells us about how important it is to teach people how stories work.
But do we have that kind of literacy about stories today? I mean, you say stories won the war, but the humanities now are under attack.
Before the war, U.S. libraries were underfunded. They had very thin collections compared to what was available in Europe. After the war, both university libraries and public libraries were invested in heavily by the U.S. government, which was determined to never be caught so badly lacking again. The U.S. had learned the value of libraries, not just as centers of community and education, but as something that's integral to national security. These are some of the lessons that the U.S. self-consciously brought away from the war. Of course, 80 years have passed since then, and we've largely forgotten that lesson.
In your book, you highlight the world-changing contributions of the people that Hitler despised, the members of the French resistance that destroyed critical railways that helped turn the war, and all the people that he rejected who wound up being responsible for turning the tide of the war.
Yes, I mean, Hitler, he had an authoritarian regime, and the thing about authoritarians is they have an incredibly limited outlook, an incredible need to conform, a conviction that anybody who's competent must share their exact way of thinking, which is a huge weakness. I wrote a piece for the Globe and Mail a while ago saying authoritarianism is a catastrophic military disadvantage. The US military and others have conducted tons of studies showing, for instance, that diversity is a big military advantage. It improves things ranging from resilience to unit cohesion, and more broadly, agile military thinking because they value outside perspectives. During World War II, Hitler and his cronies were constantly hobbled by the fact that they excluded violently so many people who wound up contributing marvelously to the Allied side of the fight. So anyway, I write this piece,
everybody.
and then a very belligerent guy writes to me and says, what about the Spartans? And they guarantee that everything he thinks he knows about the Spartans, he got from the movie 300. The stories we tell matter. A ton of guys watched that movie and came away from it thinking, well, the best fighters are a small group of guys who have 12 packs and don't wear shirts, but in a totally straight way, and fight against these dark-skinned Persians using the power of their own conformity. The stories we tell matter. Of course, the 300 guys should make their movie, but it's useful to have historians out there too talking about how it really worked. All of these things are, in the end, stories. It's important to have a plurality of stories out there so that we can arrive at a better and more useful truth, including about what happened during World War II and how we won it.
How many women were
Elise
serving in
Graham
the
is a
OSS?
historian and
35%.
professor at Stony Brook University and the author of Book and Dagger. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Sound really good. Good luck with the book.
This week's show on the media.
Looks like the news is coming up, so I'll leave you guys with the news.
Candace Wong. Travis Mannon is our video producer.
Our technical directors, Jennifer Munson, with engineering from Jared Paul. Eloise Blondio is our senior producer, and our executive producer is Katya Rogers. On the Media is produced by WNYC. I'm Brooke Gladstone.
And I'm Michael Ellinger.
This is CPR News, 90.1 FM, KCFR Denver, 1490 AM, KCFC Boulder, on HD at 90.1 FM and CPR.org. Downsizing isn't just about closets and garages. It's about starting fresh.
You have to be very careful when going through family treasures. Treasure means something different to everybody.
In Aging Matters, hear expert advice and personal stories on how Coloradans navigate the emotional, financial, and practical steps of moving forward. Aging Matters from Colorado Matters at CPR.org.
With support from Denver Hospice.
This is the TED Radio Hour. Each week, groundbreaking TED Talks.
Our job now is to dream big.
Delivered at TED conferences
To bring about the future we want to see.
around the world.
To understand who we are.
From those talks, we bring you speakers and ideas that will surprise you,
You just don't know what you're going to find.
21 degrees
you,
here.
We have to ask ourselves, like, why is it noteworthy?
and even change you.
I literally feel like I'm a different person.
Yes.
Do you feel that way?
Ideas worth spreading. From TED and NPR. I'm Manoush Zamarodi. Coming up.
You don't need to be a scientist to help collect scientific data.
To use software to say, what are we missing as humans?
And this has already been a game changer for biodiversity.
AI is a tool that can help us, but it's not the end all.
On the show today, translating nature versus news.
Here we go.
According to the United Nations, the generation of electricity is one of the biggest contributors
it's
to
Climate
global
Watch.
greenhouse gas emissions.
That's what they
Those
play
emissions
instead
are
of
driving
the
climate
news at
change.
this time.
So what if we could generate clean, renewable energy and save money at the same time?
Oh, imagine
This
that.
is Climate Watch from the BBC.
It's like exactly what
Start
happens.
warnings today.
The Earth is warming.
More hurricanes likely
Dramatically worse than previously predicted.
Why can't we just stop emitting carbon altogether?
Yeah, what about that?
I'm Caroline Steele, and this week we're on Kodiak Island in Alaska, a rugged, wild place where 99.9% of electricity comes from renewables like wind power and hydroelectric. The BBC's Anna Holligan went to meet Kodiak resident Catherine Patitucci.
We're talking about our great electricity and windmills and hydro here.
Driving into her neighborhood, two bald-headed eagles perched on a chimney are watching over the street. Slightly unnerving. But Catherine herself is warm, welcoming, and she takes so much pride in her home.
Okay, so this is our oil furnace that heats our 2-bedroom apartment, and it cost about $400 a month. It's a small apartment. And then next to it, our 3-story villa that cost $200 a month with our electric infrared sauna, our big giant whirlpool bathtub, showers, everything. Keep it warm, and it is warmer too, and fresher air.
Nice. And that's all because they've tapped into the grid and don't have to rely on oil anymore.
So we did a whole complete green system, and we have a heat pump. Everything is electric.
This sophisticated system is powered via the microgrid. A microgrid is a local energy system that can power places like university campuses, hospitals, or neighborhoods. It's run by Kodiak Electric, a non-profit cooperative.
We've heard over the years that we've kind of become the poster child for renewable energy.
Chief Exec Dan Mentz is proud of their achievements.
When you're in an isolated grid in a truly remote location like we are, and to be able to maintain 99+% renewable energy, there's a lot of folks wanting to find out what we did, how did we get there, and how did it become successful.
Kodiak Electric isn't some kind of distant energy giant. It's actually owned by the very same people who rely on its power. Back in the early 1980s, the community began weaning itself off diesel. Switching first to hydropower, then came the wind turbines.
Smart.
But here's the twist. Kodiak didn't embrace renewable energy to chase green incentives or meet net zero targets. They did it because it made commercial sense. It's also having an impact on one of Alaska's most famous exports, salmon. In fact, the island's entire fishing industry. We went down to the port to meet Rebecca Skinner.
I grew up here. I was used to hydroelectric. Then they put the turbines in, and I was used to that. I guess it took a long time for me to realize how unique that is in the U.S. I mean, having 99% renewable energy is not normal when you go other places, but a lot of fish are landed here and processed here, and it's all done with renewable energy.
The transition isn't complete, and many households on Kodiak remain tethered to oil for heating. But the grid often produces more energy than the island consumes, keeping the island self-sufficient and resilient. A glimpse
works.
And that was climate.
Thanks, Climate Watch. Instead of the news.
Radio show and podcast showcasing people, places, and policy. Weekday mornings at 9 and evenings at 7
on CPR News, everywhere you get podcasts.
Freakonomics Radio.
I'm Stephen Dubner, host of Freakonomics Radio. Every week, Freakonomics Radio explores the hidden side of, well, everything. From the economics of sleep to when is the best time to rob a bank. So tune in next time on Freakonomics Radio.
Saturday nights at 10 on KRCC and News.
Hello.
Support comes from Energy Outreach Colorado, working to ensure every Coloradan can afford home energy.
So we're just
this Colorado Gives Day. Learn how to help families stay safe and warm this winter at energyoutreach.org/CO Gives Day.
Support comes from Emmett Denver, the 3-row Atlas and the all-electric ID Buzz Van. EMICHVW.com.
It's the Tech Radio Hour from NPR. I'm Manoush Zamarodi. On the show today, translating nature, AI, and other technology to better understand what the world around us is saying.
Yeah, it honestly, it always shocks me how little we know about the planet.
This is Sarah Beery. She's a professor of AI at MIT.
When I think about the hundreds and hundreds of years that scientists have studied species, all the way back from Charles Darwin, until today, and all of the technological advances that have come with that, you would think that we would know every species on Earth.
Sarah says that by documented maybe 2 million species of animals, which sounds like a lot.
But our best statistical estimates to try to figure out how many species on the planet estimate that we have somewhere between 10 and even 100 million species on Earth.
As you might imagine, this creates a problem for conservation efforts. You can't save animals that you don't know exist. And Sarah says it's not enough to just discover a new species, give it a Latin-sounding name, and call it a day.
Because it's not enough, right? If you want to protect a species, it's not enough to just know that it exists.
You have to understand what it needs, what it eats, how it relates to its environment.
For example, if the temperature goes up by 5 degrees, will that species still be able to live and survive or not, right?
Without a firm understanding of these details, it's difficult to save animals and their habitats, and will continue to lose species at an alarming rate.
We just save all the habitats, stop the oil companies.
If we look at our best estimates of even just the population sizes of wildlife on Earth, it's estimated we've lost over 70% of all wildlife since 1970. Like, imagine that, right? Within the lifetimes of people on Earth, we've lost 70% of all wildlife. That's shocking.
But despite the dire statistics, Sarah is actually hopeful because over the last decade or so, citizen science has exploded. You might have an app like iNaturalist or eBird on your phone right now, where you can take a picture of an animal or plant and identify it